Welcome back. Now, funeral parlours are running out of coffins in the Eastern Cape province. Well, the province there has seen a massive spike in the number of deaths. So let's discuss this now, this rather grim situation, with the National Funeral Directors Association's Deputy President, that's Dr. Lawrence Konyana. Thank you so much for your time, Dr. Konyana. Good morning to you. This is quite worrisome, but also it's a reflection of the pressure that I suppose industry is experiencing at this time. I mean, reading the news about potentially a lack or just a very low number of coffins that you see, particularly in the Eastern Cape province.
Good morning, and morning to your listeners too. Yes, indeed, the Eastern Cape and part of the Western Cape, they've had a shortage of coffins. And it's largely also attributed to the number of COVID cases, deaths that we see rising. And also because most of the manufacturers were on a December break. So although their warehouses were stocked up, but unfortunately these ran out very fast as they were not producing at the moment. Most of them came back early to try to make up for that, though.
Mr. Konyana, we've always, constantly read from the media, or even heard from government saying and appealing to families that, unfortunately, once your loved one has passed away, please make sure that the necessary arrangements are done just as swiftly as possible, so to make way for, those new deaths that are being recorded daily. Just tell us how severe or rather strained right now your industry is at this point, particularly when it comes to servicing families who are grieving but yet making way and space for new, people that have passed on.
Well, I think much of it comes down to the cooperation of the families as well, because I'm sure in our communities, mostly we bury on weekends, and now we've had to turn that around and bury during the week to make sure that the turnaround time is quite quick. And it's been quite a lot of strain, especially with the coffin shortages in certain areas. It has meant that, some of those within 5, you can't really bury within 5 days, but you might have to wait for a bit longer. And while you're doing that, your fridges also are getting full.
Yeah, and what's the solution right now? What options do you have as an industry regarding this coffin, shortage issue that you have at your hands? Are you saying to people they may need to consider cremation, even though it might be sort of a culture shock for some that are, obviously used to burying their loved ones by obviously using a coffin and burying them and not necessarily cremating?
Well, cremation will also require some kind of a coffin. So it really, at the end of the day, it needs to balance out. But what we've been in touch with the manufacturers, and most of them have really come up, and some of them are even doing double shifts to make sure that there is no such shortage in the country of coffins.
All right, then we'll leave it at that. Thank you so much, Lawrence Konyana from the National Funeral Directors Association.